Well, good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Irish Hills of Michigan for today's running of the Corrigan Oil 200. You know, downtown Detroit's only about an hour to the east, and the ARCA home office in Toledo's only 40 miles from here. But there's no question about it. Drivers in NASCAR and ARCA alike know that a big win at Michigan can be a super part of your racing resume. Hi, everyone. I'm Ray Dunlap alongside two drivers who have won before in ARCA. The story, though, is this guy won and this guy won before this one was born. But other than that, when we come to Michigan, Justin Allgaier, we have to talk about speed. Tell me about this racetrack and ARCA on it.
Absolutely. This is a great facility for us. Obviously, you mentioned the ties to Detroit. That's the automotive manufacturers. It's their backyard. The speed here is incredible. You know, we've seen the center corner speeds go up over these last few years, and you're basically almost wide open all the way around this 2-mile racetrack. And when you say you're almost wide open or you are wide open, it tends to raise some hairs. I mean, you're going into these corners at a very high rate of speed. We saw in practice the times were pretty much almost exactly where they were at with this new package for speeds in qualifying versus race trim, so definitely going to be a challenge.
Talk about inexperience in this field, Phil.
Yeah, we have 10 drivers making their first ever start here at Michigan in the ARCA Racing Series, including 6 of those that are starting in the top 14. So as Justin talked about, the speed here is unbelievable, and it's really an adjustment for these drivers to make to try to figure out how to go this fast and keep that center of the corner speed up and the momentum.
And now it's time to get this race started, so let's go trackside for pre-race ceremonies.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal from Torres Industries Incorporated, Bob Ressler.
Welcome, race fans. Drivers, start your engines.
So with the flipping of the switches, 26 drivers are hoping to beat Frank Kimmel and become a first-time winner here at Michigan. We'll have the starting lineup for the Corrigan Oil 200. Welcome back to Michigan, getting ready to go with race number 9 of the 2015 ARCA Racing Series. We're 10 days away from summer officially beginning, but today our forecast was absolutely awful here. They said a 95% chance of rain. We're going to have severe storms. Well, guess what? There's no problem there. It's a little cloudy skies, but we're ready to go with racing. Now, 6 cars recorded times in qualifying earlier today. But when we look at the points, we're going to see that Grant Enfinger comes in here with a pretty nice lead, guys. 65 points is a pretty good start at this point of the year.
Well, it really is, but unfortunately, that 65 points can be erased very quickly. So I know these guys are trying to make sure they get the best finishes possible, but we've seen, you know, this ARCA Racing Series this year has been extremely tough to win these races. So I know they're going to try and do their best to finish the best they can and finish out these few races.
We had some intermittent raindrops earlier today, so that halted Menards pole qualifying, brought to you by Ansel. So ARCA used practice speeds to set the lineup. Now, no points were awarded and no money was paid. However, Frank Kimmel will lead the field to the green.
Yeah, and that's a departure for ARCA. They made that change over the winter that they will use practice time, and Frank Kimmel was the fastest guy at about 187.5 miles an hour. By virtue of that, he's going to be starting on the outside. He's going to choose the outside of the front row.
Scott Brand Towels is the sponsor of the ARCA Rookie Challenge, and today we focus our attention on Sevierville, Tennessee's Blake Jones. He's making just his 3rd career start, but what a great race it was for him. Not so long ago, we went to Talladega, and this young man was able to take that Uncle Ray's potato chips car to victory lane.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, obviously, to get your first win at Talladega is huge. Then to be able to follow it up and come here to Michigan International Speedway, try to follow that race up. I don't know if you can follow it up any better, but he's definitely going to give it his best shot today.
You saw that video. He was completely by himself when he got to the start-finish line, and they were 4 wide behind him.
Well, when you take a look at the top of your screen, folks, you'll be able to see where your favorite driver is starting today here at Michigan International Speedway. And we've got 2 of the best in the business down in the garage, going to be bringing you the action from the pits. Matt Yoakum and Jim Trado are here. Let's start it off with Jim.
Well, Ray, one of the great things about this series is the young talent that gets to come in here and shine. Trevor Bayne winning his first start last week. Well, the driver finished second to him is our current point leader, Grant Enfinger. Yes, it's a 65-point margin. It could have been a lot more. He won the first 3 races of the season, but in the last 2 races, he's picked it back up again. 2 top 5 finishes for this Allegiant Chevrolet team. They brought the same car here. They raced at Pocono. They went through a lot of changes last week. This week, comfort and speed came together for this team. So starting 6th on those practice times may not showcase the speed that Grant Enfinger has here, trying to get in that 4th win here in 2015. Now let's check in with Matt Yoakum.
Jim, 22-year-old Ross Kenseth hits another milestone in his racing career, climbing from the short tracks to the super speedways. Today marks his 3rd career ARCA start on a track that he's never been on before, and it's the largest racetrack he's ever competed on in his racing career. Now, his father, Matt, Sprint Cup champion, has won here twice. He gave him a lot of advice just about how the racetrack will change and what to expect as far as the lines and racing around other cars. But that's the biggest lesson that Ross told me he has yet to complete, just how his race car will compete around cars in the draft. So today, the lessons continue. Ray?
Well, thank you, guys. We see that the lights are off on the pace car, and I'd like you guys to show us the 4 drivers that'll bring us an onboard camera today.
Yeah, let's ride along with Bola Mastis. He's in the Chrysler Brands onboard. Top 15 finishes in the last 4 outings for him, including a career best 9th at Talladega. He will start 15th.
Starting in the 55 Jags.com car here, we got Cody Coughlin. Going to Talladega. He finished 2nd at Talladega a few weeks ago, so this is his 15th career ARCA start, so he's looking forward to a good finish today.
We're going to ride along with that Talladega winner, Blake Jones, as well. He will drive the Scott Brands on board. He will start from the 4th spot.
And in the no-coat battery charger Ford, we got Will Kimmel in the number 69. His career best is 2nd at Salem, so I know he'd love to get that first win, especially here at Michigan International Speedway. So
4 different drivers going to be bringing us a really good shot of what's going on inside the race cars today here at Michigan. Yeah, you see the cloud cover, but guess what, guys? They're saying it's clear, and we're going to be able to go racing this afternoon and get it all in.
And remember, these guys did all their practice yesterday. We've had a lot of Xfinity practice as well as Cup practice and qualifying with a Goodyear radial rubber on here. These guys are on their Hoosier radials, so they'll be a little bit different here for first few laps anyway.
yeah, especially some of these rookies are going to come out here, and they're going to not be used to that difference in rubber. So it could be interesting for the first few laps, but after 3 or 4 laps, it should be burn off, and they should be ready to go again.
Cars are lining up. They go 2 by 2 as they come out of turn number 4 here at Michigan International Speedway. Ready to go racing. Green flag is in the air. Frank Kimmel leads them down.
Great start for Ross Kenseth on the inside. It's going to get a little bit of help from Will Kimmel in the 69. Ross has the lead.
I really thought the outside would have been the place to start here, but obviously timed it well and got that good run.
Will got a little bit loose.
It's so easy to do here when you've got a car on your outside, especially in these ARCA Racing Series cars. You want to race side by side, but the guy on the inside is definitely at a disadvantage.
And look at this. Hessert's going to try to make some time. He goes down to the inside around Will Kimmel. He'll take that spot by using the bottom groove.
Yeah, Grant Enfinger was able to use that momentum off of turn 2 to grab the 3rd spot in the blue 23.
So now Kimmel will drop in behind Ross Kenseth. He's in the Federated Auto Parts race car.
See Josh Williams, the 6 car, looks to the inside of Will Kimmel for just a moment. I was going to tuck back in line. Look at the shot he got through the center of the corner and off for turn 2.
Will looks like he's struggling just a little bit in the middle to keep a hold of his race car, keep it down on the line that he wants to run, and it's allowing these guys to get a good run underneath of him. And that's probably why we saw him get in so much trouble when he was on the inside, just because he was afraid to get into that car on the outside.
There's another car down to the inside trying to go around Will Kimmel. That looks...
Krzyzewski.
Yeah, looks like to be Matt
the 54
Krzyzewski.
car. Yeah. Well, he's done a nice job this year, Matt Krzyzewski. Just 3 starts and all top 10 finishes.
Got a career best last week at Pocono. In the top 5 for that number 54. He's from Mansfield, Pennsylvania. And he and Josh Williams have a great battle here. That is the battle for 6th position, and Kimmel continues to drop back. So we see that group there is Krzyzewski, then Josh Williams in the 6th, then Kimmel, and right behind them, one of our onboards with Cody Coughlin.
A lot of experience on the pit box for Krzyzewski. Has Brian Keselowski as a crew chief on that 54 car. They really, last year, they only ran the 2 Speedway races. They bought this car, ran Pocono last week, and then they're going to run another 5 races after the rest of the season.
And we saw that video in the tease at the top of the show of Ty Dillon winning here at this racetrack. That's a car right out of that stable from Ty Dillon.
pretty good car.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to have a good car, that'd be one you'd want right there.
Ooh, got a little bit wide. Try to jump to the outside of the 23. Blake Jones was trying to take over the third spot from Enfinger.
Just a tiny little bit of feather on that throttle, and look, his teammate was able to slick right by.
You get in that dirty air from the car in front of you, and you think you're going forward, everything seems good, and you think you're going to be able to get that run, and then all of a sudden, either the front end or the back end stops sticking, and you kind of slide up a little bit. As you mentioned, you feather that throttle, and it doesn't take much around this 2-mile oval to lose that momentum, and the guy behind you pounce on you.
The 22 team's been on a roll lately. Let's check in and hear more about that from Jim Trado.
Well, Ray, as you rode along, as he went too hard in the corner and washed up for his teammate Tom Hester to pass by, the spotter for the 22 machine is Eddie DeHaan. Eddie DeHaan spots for Jeff Gordon. He was also in the stand for Blake Jones when he won at Talladega. He just calmed this 18-year-old recent high school graduate down by saying, take your time, take it easy, make sure you use the pedals right. Eddie DeHaan doing a lot of coaching now for this young man. They just paired up at the top of the race. Matter of fact, the first question asked by Eddie this morning was, hey, have you ever raced here before, buddy? And the driver answered back, no, sir. So Blake Jones learned a lot here early on.
That's got to be tough, to come to a racetrack that's this big, to put the pressure on yourself to want to come out here and run well. Obviously, you have a great practice, start up towards the front. You want to make the most of it when you have those opportunities, and right now it looks like he's doing that.
How do you guys rank this racetrack, though, when you talk about first time here? Because it appears there's so much width on the racetrack, and you've got an opportunity to get away from people if you're in a little bit of trouble.
Well, it's not really that wide. You see the definite black line in the corners. You don't really want to be above that. We saw Blake Jones, as was a good battle for second. Grant Enfinger take over that second spot from Frank Kimmel. You saw Blake Jones cross that line, got his right sides up out of that black, and then he was along for the ride. So right now the groove has not widened out that much. So this is pretty challenging racetrack. These guys aren't able to run these things wide open like we see the trucks do lap after lap. So it takes a lot of finesse here.
Ross Kenseth is starting to open up his lead a little bit. It's right at 1 second now. But look at this battle right behind them. You could throw a blanket over these four.
Yeah, I think, with Frank's car maybe not handling exactly how he wants it to handle, they've kind of all bottled up right there, and it seems like that's allowed Ross to jump out. But the one thing I'm noticing is watching the 22 car here, we've talked about it already, him kind of moving around a little bit. If you watch that car, it really wiggles when he's behind somebody. I don't know if it's tired or loose or what he's exactly fighting, but it does not look comfortable when he's behind those cars. But it seems like he's got the speed. So if he could get around some of these cars, maybe he would have some speed to get up there towards the front to battle out with, whether it be Ross Kenseth or Grant Enfinger.
Good battle for third right here. Down to the inside goes the 77 of Tom Hessert. And that Barbera is idling. Oh, we've got smoke on the racetrack. One car getting down off of the racing surface. That was right in front of that group. It appears to be the number 95 of Kevin Hinkle. Hinkle making his first career start here in the ARCA Racing Series.
Yeah, we stay green for now. Obviously, the racetrack looks clear. Great battle, though, for the third spot. Tom Hessert continuing to run the bottom, trying to make his way around the 25 of Kimmel. And how about Krzyzewski now joining that battle? Also, the 6, you see Josh Williams move to the inside of Krzyzewski. Got a little bit of momentum off of turn number 4, trying to use that draft.
Yeah, the draft is so important here. When these guys get 2, even maybe possibly 3 wide down the straightaways, it really slows those cars down and lets the cars behind you really catch up. We're seeing that right now, and Krzyzewski's coming back on the inside. So, it's one of those racetracks that you really are using the side draft. You're using the draft of the car in front of you, and even the lap cars. When you're catching a lap car, you're going to use the draft to try and help yourself.
We saw Josh Williams in the 6 car use that side draft on Krzyzewski.
Front car's got a pretty good lead. Let's check in the 52 pits. Back to Matt Yoakum.
And a good second half lead over Enfinger is Ross Kenseth in the 52 car. Now, early on, he's telling the team that basically the car through the center cuts well. It's very neutral, but his issue is right about there. He starts to pick up a drift, and the car goes free on exit. Now, what he's done, through the help of his spotter, Chris Lambert, who's Denny Hamlin's Sprint Cup Series spotter, is to change his line on entry. That has helped the car on exit.
Well, thank you, Matt. It looks like going pretty well for Ross Kenseth so far. We're 10 laps in of a 100-lapper today here at the Michigan International Speedway. Car number 52 at the front of the pack. Welcome back to Michigan. Frank Kimmel led the field to the green, even though ARCA Menards pole qualifying was canceled. But from lap 2 forward, it has been Ross Kenseth in Kenny Schrader's Federated Auto Parts Toyota out front. looks like he's having fun.
He is, and you know, we talked about the fact that this racetrack had a little bit of Goodyear rubber on it. Justin said it'd be 3 or 4 laps before they burn it off. Well, Ross Kenseth ran his fastest lap of the race on lap number 10, so I think the racetrack is really good right now. Grant Enfinger ran his fastest lap on lap number 11.
One of the things that we're noticing, though, is the last lap was only a couple of hundredths slower, and actually he just ran his fastest lap right now on lap 14. So definitely feel like these guys, you know, they're getting their confidence. You know, they're feeling like they're in good shape, and now the car's handling hopefully like they want it to, and they're able to really put the pedal down.
Good battle here from 5th, 6th, and 7th. At number 22, Blake Jones, we mentioned the fact that he had won at Talladega. That was an interesting circumstance when his teammate ran out of fuel on the white flag lap. Nevertheless, he's got that trophy, and just a couple of starts for him this season, so he's really just getting used to these big cars, and especially on the big fast racetrack.
Yeah, but that 22 car has been fast all year. As a matter of fact, they're going for 3 wins in a row with that 22 car. We saw Trevor Bayne jump in that car last week and get a big win. See Josh Williams, that 6 red car following him. He's actually going to drive that car next week in Chicago.
I wonder if he's studying up right now, seeing, you know, comparing to the competition, and if he passes him and beats him, he might wonder if it was worth driving that car next week.
And here's a cool story, guys. They're going to take the engine out of Josh Williams' car and put it in the 22. And then Tyler Oddie is going to drive Josh Williams' car, and he'll take his engine out and put it in there. So that ARCA Ilmore 396 has really given these guys a lot of options. They've used the engine at every different kind of racetrack we've been to this year, and it seems like it's just great everywhere we go.
How about Kersieski using that Ilmore engine to get by that 6 of Josh Williams to move up a spot?
You know, I've heard a lot of great things about it. Obviously, from a competitor standpoint, having that one engine that you can run at all the different types of racetrack has really been huge. And I think that takes teams that maybe don't have the budget or the means that they would like to be able to buy one of those engines and come and compete at a competitive level. I mean, Josh Williams, for example, you know, I know that team has really come to life over the last few years, and this year especially with that new engine has really felt like that they've, you know, been in good shape to compete for not only good finishes but race wins.
And there's been a lot of teams that have come here saying, well, you know, we can't afford to do that engine lease like we used to do in the past. We can't afford to have the same engine that some of the top runners have. Now they all have the same engine. Right now, Will Kimmel, that 69 Ford on board that we're riding along with, has the exact same engine essentially that Ross Kenseth has right now in that 52 car that's leading this race.
Right in the front of that group is Josh Williams in car number 6. More on him from Matt Yoakum.
Now, Ray, he started in the 8th position. He climbed up to 6th, but he has since fallen 1 spot back to 7th. Early on, the biggest issue was just cutting to the center of the corner. And he changed his line, but he also moved up half a car length, and that helped him connect the corners. And we've got a car in the wall.
Number 22 has made contact, Matt. That is Blake Jones, and he has more than just rubbed the wall. It looks like he may have enough damage on the right front. They'll have to come to the pit area.
Yeah, that was a pretty good lick there. We saw him, that happened to him early in the race where he got the ride sides up out of the block. We were talking about the line, Ray. He got up there and there was really no grabbing that car. I'm sure he got off the throttle, but unfortunately he made contact, much like we saw Kurt Busch do in the Cup practice earlier today.
Yeah, you know, the black part of the racetrack is pretty grippy, but once you get in that gray area, as we'll see him do right here, you turn on in and you think, you really think you have a tire going flat or something crazy is going on, because the car just seems to want to go straight. And unfortunately for Blake there, that's going to be a tough rest of the go here, especially under green.
Well, he had Josh Williams, a 6 car underneath him. He wanted to give him some room. I don't even think he ever got down to the black. As he entered the corner, his right sides were up in that gray and the marbles and the loose stuff, and then he was along for the ride. Tough break. We just talked about this car going for 3 wins in a row, and unfortunately not going to happen today.
So the number 22 Uncle Ray's Potato Chips car from Cunningham Motorsports has made contact in turn number 1, and that will look like it may end today for Blake Jones here at the Michigan International Speedway. Racing here at Michigan International Speedway, Ross Kenseth out front in his Federated Auto Parts race car. He is really stretching it out now as he has opened up his lead on Grant Enfinger by almost 4 seconds.
It's just the consistency. He's really running some fast laps. He ran his fastest lap of the race on lap 17, but all the subsequent laps have been pretty close to that.
Well, we had our Scots rookie on board here, and we wanted to take a look at the number 22. You guys were mentioning that Blake Jones got out of the black part of the groove there. We're going to be able to go take a look at his onboard camera today here from that Uncle Ray's Potato Chips car.
See the black now. He backs off the throttle, gets his rights. He crosses over into the gray stuff, and I just don't. It's like being on ice, Ray. I don't think he had any control of that car.
Here's Will Kimmel in that number 69.
He actually came to pit road. When we saw the 22 come to pit road after he got into the wall, we actually saw Will Kimmel come to pit road as well. So we're not sure if maybe they ran through something or some of the debris from Blake's car or what exactly happened. But Will looks like he's struggling around.
Yeah, it looks like it's really wiggling there. He's really off the pace right now.
1-800 Auto Parts on the quarter panels there for Will Kimmel, but you're right, he is going to be back down pit road, looks like maybe this time.
I think he thinks he may have a tire going down. We saw that car wiggle down in the center of 1 and 2. He knew that wasn't right.
Kimmel came out of Daytona with a 10th place run, guys, but from Mobile forward, they just have not been able to get one piece of luck for car number 69. And as Will Kimmel will come back down onto pit road, we'll see if we can get an update on what's wrong with them. Jim Trado.
Well, to follow up, guys, he pitted the first time because he thought he had a steering issue. As the 22 went high, Will may have lost some air in the car. His dad, Bill Kimmel, is the crew chief. I just checked in with Bill. He said, I think we made a mistake. Will felt something in the car, but obviously that's changed to let's come down pit road. We need 2 right side tires and fuel in this XL Ford. They're not taking any chances here. This is their primary car. This is their baby for intermediate tracks. This team needs more funding to run the full season. So on the safe side, they're coming down to change those right side Hoosier tires for Will Kimmel.
Lap 28 here, Phil. There's really no way that can be any advantage for them throughout the course of this race.
No, that's the second pit stop, so essentially that's going to put Will out of contention. But you have to remember, for the ARCA Racing Series, this is a pretty tough stretch because they don't have the inventory that a Cup team would have, or even an Xfinity team would have. And they've got 3 races in a row, counting Pocono last week, here at Michigan, Chicago next week, where essentially they would run the same kind of car, same kind of intermediate car. So these guys really have to take care of their equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a tight stretch, and these guys are, a lot of these teams are, as you mentioned, running the same car. So I know Will wants to save it, albeit he wants to run good and win races. But we saw a lot of cars last week at Pocono get crashed in qualifying, get crashed in the race. You know, here's this weekend, we're fortunate we haven't had a whole lot of those cars get torn up. But, you know, as we get into the summer stretch, these guys are really banking on the inventory of cars they do have.
We'll rub a little salt in the wound for the 69. Too fast exiting on pit road, so he'll come back down once again. He will be multiple laps down in this race. Won't be Will Kimmel's day.
Yeah, tough to break. I know how excited they were. This is the Ford onboard for Will Kimmel, and they were really excited about this race. Will always does such a good job. Had a top 5 finish last week at Pocono. You were talking about the tough luck to start the season, Ray. Finally put that behind him last week. Had a top 5 finish, and unfortunately, it's not going to be very good here.
So as he'll exit back out onto the pit road, going to be at least 2 laps down at this point for Will Kimmel. 3 laps down. Uncle Frank, though, is running pretty well. He's got that number 25 ARCA Menards car back up in the running, and Frank now just a little bit behind Grant Enfinger. As Enfinger now will have a pretty decent battle going down to the inside of David Levine. Enfinger trying to close up that gap a bit, but Ross Kenseth just keeps stretching it out.
Well, that's the amazing pace that Ross Kenseth is running right now. That's the 11th place car, David Levine, who just got lapped.
We're looking at the lap times, and we've talked about it already, but you know, the leader has slowed down now about a second. Second on back has slowed down over a second and a half, almost 2 seconds. So really, you know, the pace here is for a lot of these guys is falling off, and Ross Kenseth obviously is enjoying that and stretching out his lead.
Any concern on either of your parts that Ross is racing that car too hard right now early on in the race?
I don't think so. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's listened to his dad. He knows. I was talking to Donnie Richardson, his crew chief in the garage area. He knows that when he's running too hard and leaning too much on that right front tire. So I think right now, Matt, he's pretty comfortable.
From lap 12 on, he said he has no complaints about the 52 car. Now, he did come on about 10 laps ago, and he told Donnie that basically what he's going to do is back it down a little bit to try to help save and help the fuel mileage itself. And he's actually opened up the cushion from 3.5 to almost 5.5 seconds. Trying to go slower, he's going faster.
That usually happens, unfortunately.
Whatever makes it work, right, I guess. So Ross Kenseth has a very fast Federated Auto Parts race car. He's out front. Grant Enfinger running second. Frank Kimmel close behind. Welcome back to Michigan International Raceway. 35 of 100 laps are complete today as we're in the ARCA Michigan 200. 15 different states and Canada represented today for the drivers in our field. We're on board right now in the Uncle Ray's Potato Chips race car of Blake Jones. He was our first driver to have a problem here at the track today, and Blake Jones back in 20th position after making contact with the wall over in turn number 3. Jim Trado, what's going on with Will Kimmel?
Right rear axle has not cooperated with where it was snugged into the rear end. Right rear axle issues on Will Kimmel's car. That gave him that loose feeling.
And the yellow flag is out right now. ARCA officials saying to us there is a slight amount of precipitation in the air, so they are going to want to take a look at the racetrack. So that big lead that Ross Kenseth had is now evaporated, and Grant Enfinger will catch right back up to the back of that number 52 car.
Yeah, we're still a ways from halfway, so I think it's a great opportunity for these guys to hit pit road here and not take any chances. Let's go ahead and put 4 tires on these cars. If we were close to halfway and the guys haven't pitted yet, they may want to gamble and stay out. I think right now, though, they know we're not going to run 15 laps under caution.
Right.
So they need to come to pit road here. And maybe the guy that wins the race off pit road may be in the driver's seat here towards the end if we get some more weather.
Well, I think the other thing, too, we talk about they're definitely going to come down and probably get tires. You may see a couple of guys that are back there in the 5th through 10th range. I feel like their car is pretty decent. They just didn't have any track position. Maybe try 2 tires. Try something to get themselves a little bit of track position. We've seen how hard it is to pass.
We only have 10 cars on the lead lap, though, so you really don't,
if
you're
you're
not
in the
going
back,
to gain a whole lot.
Right, if you're in the back, you're not going to gain a whole lot,
Yeah.
but maybe something that some of these guys will try.
Grant Enfinger in that number 23 has been on the radio. Let's hear from Jim Trado.
Well, one thing that the team is discussing, he and crew chief Kalikowski, is do we stay out on this caution? Because if they do have rain in the area, we're on lap 37, halfway is lap 50. And Grant said, as long as you tell me what you want to do, the 52 comes, will come, but turn that engine off to save some fuel.
Yeah, that's an interesting point for sure. The pits will be open this time. The green light is on down at the entrance to pit road, so we will see what these drivers decide to do. 52 car out in the lead. Looks like he's coming down pit road along with Grant Enfinger, also Frank Kimmel. So none of those guys willing to make a gamble. Matt Yoakum.
13 laps from halfway, Ray. So Donnie Richardson told Ross that they are going to play it straight up. They're going to go 4 tires and fuel on the 52. He had really no complaints about that race car over the run. Jim.
Well, when it comes to the 23 machine, they are coming to pit road. What they have is here, they want to get in 4 tires and fuel here. He complained just a bit about being a tick tight, but he's really happy with how his race car ran in clean air. With that advantage that Ross Kenseth had, Enfinger, of course, had that clean air with that 6-second deficit. No changes dramatically here. Kalikowski and the crew just waiting on fuel now to get the leading Chevy underway. Frank Kimmel now has left side tires on his Menards Toyota. He's down and away. He may have beaten Enfinger down to the line.
It's a 4-car battle out of pit road, and it appears that Ross Kenseth will go from first as the leader to 4th on that cycle of pit stops. And out first, Grant Enfinger, our point leader here in the ARCA Racing Series.
Yeah, the 54th Krzyzewski stayed on the racetrack.
So, some interesting gambles here at Michigan. We're under caution for weather. Here. We are under caution here at Michigan, but a couple of different scenarios have taken place here. It's just a real light shower that the officials were worried about. We don't see anything big, so they're saying for sure we'll be able to go back to racing. All of the heavy stuff is down south of us, down there, so I don't think that's a problem. But Matt Krzyzewski has decided to stay on the racetrack just in case, but he hasn't been to pit road yet.
Yeah, he's obviously trying to save fuel right now, trying to get to halfway. Obviously, he thinks that there's a possibility that maybe the ARCA racing officials will keep them on the racetrack under caution, and they need to do that. They need to try to keep some speed, some heat in the racetrack to try to keep it as dry as we can. But as you mentioned, we looked at the radar. There's really not much on it, so I really think we'll be going racing again soon.
Right here is a shot of the driver who got the free pass. That is David Levine in car number 59. He's from Highland Park, Illinois. Let's go back down trackside, check in once again with Jim.
Well, let's add some more to the mix of strategies. Chad Bryant, the crew chief on Tom Hessers, number 77, had him pit for fuel only. And the crawl now is in 10 laps or so. If we're still pacing under caution, come back in for 4 tires. That's our window. We'll be done for the day.
Very interesting. So what we thought was going to be a 2 pit stop race under green may not play out that way. So Tom Hessert with fuel only that time. Matt Kurziewski decides to stay on the racetrack. Ross Kenseth came in as the leader. He went back to the track, 4th off of pit road. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. 40% of our race underway here today at Michigan. We are under our first caution as we had a real slight little drizzle in the air here, and our driver out front hasn't pitted yet, Phil, so let's see if we can catch him on the radio.
Yeah, see if we can talk to him here. They're talking on the radio right now. Hey, Matt, Phil Parsons up on the Fox Sports 2 booth. You got a copy?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, that thing looks awfully good. You've had a great run after your career best finish last week at Pocono. What, Brian not going to let you come to pit road? He's going to make you run this thing without any gas?
We're coaching it out right now, trying to see what ARCA does here, make up their mind. The car's great, absolutely awesome, especially on the longer run. We're not really dropping off much compared to everyone else.
Well, what is your plan here? If we get ready to go back to racing, give them one to go, you're going to come to pit road then?
I'm going to have to come on down pit road, but we're going to wait here and see what ARCA does. It's looking good here, but that sky's looking awfully dark down there towards turn 1.
I guess you'd probably like this thing to go to about lap 50, 51, and then the skies open up, huh?
Yeah, that sounds about right. If it happens, not exactly the way you want to get your first one, but we've been running pretty good the past 3 races. Car's absolutely great here at Michigan.
All right, buddy, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
You take care.
You guys, you see that Elmira heat treating on the quarter panels there of car number 54. That's Terry and Rick Young's business. And those guys said, you know what, we have been watching this young man, and he has been doing better week in and week out, so they decided to hop on board this week along with Costy's Energy Service. So a couple of nice new sponsors, different sponsors there for the 54.
He said he didn't want to get his first win under rain conditions. I can promise you, it doesn't matter how you get him, he'll be happy to win one.
One way or another, right? Grant Enfinger in that Allegiant Travel Impala, we have been watching him throughout the year. It has been somewhat of a roller coaster as he come out of the box down in Daytona with a win. Then he went on to get the next 2. It's the only driver in the history of the ARCA Racing Series that's done it in back-to-back seasons where he opened up the year with 3 consecutive wins. But after those first 3, Phil, the things started to go a little bit sideways.
Yeah, just like last year, he wins at Daytona, he goes to Mobile and wins. And then we go to the fairgrounds of Nashville for the first time in a long time, and he gets the win there. But then, man, it went pretty much south after that race.
You know, they were here at Salem. He gets into the wall there, coming towards the end of the race, battling for a win. I know that Kelly Kofsky, the crew chief on that car, has just been shaking his head after some of these races. They've been caught up in so much bad luck.
You lead pack at Talladega, had a great car, led some laps there. Here's Toledo, he's leading the race and loses power off of turn 2.
No question, they've been up front and in competition to win those races, but a little bit of bad luck. Take that whole point thing and really mixed it up here in ARCA, but they've gotten back on track the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple top 5s, including a runner-up finish last week at Pocono.
Here's the points, and you can see that thing seesawing a little bit as
yeah, he was up 120 after that 3rd win in a row, then dropped a little bit and all the way down to 40 after Talladega and Toledo, but then back up to 65 after that 2nd place finish last week.
65, a pretty comfortable lead, but we're just coming up towards the halfway point of the 2015 ARCA Racing Series. We're at Michigan right now under caution for rain. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. We have only been slowed down 1 time today. We're under our first caution still. There was a real brief little rain shower over in turn number 4. The ARCA officials wanted to take a look at the track, so we went under yellow, and a number of our front-running cars decided to come down pit road. 1 driver stayed out. That's Matt Kurziewski. But as we ride along with our Scott Brands rookie of Blake Jones, he had trouble early on. And we wanted to take a look at what happened in the pit area as they continue to try to make that Uncle Ray's Potato Chips Dodge a little bit better. So left a little early, didn't he?
Well, one of the crew guys said he watched, saw the pace car coming, said, we got to go. And the guys underneath the car wasn't really sure that they were going to go.
That's a tough situation. I mean, especially, putting your hands up inside there, trying to fix damage. We see the tape, the bare bond on the car. We see the damage that they got. Obviously, they're trying to minimize the damage, but he just looks dejected in that car. I mean, they knew they had a fast number 22 all weekend, and then you get into the race and have something like that happen, and now you're just stuck. You're riding around, you're multiple laps down. You want to make the most of it, but it's just it's really hard to dig yourself back out of that hole.
He got in the crash at Daytona, finished 17th, then goes to Talladega and wins, and come here and has another bad day. Boy, the roller coaster of racing really is something.
Yeah, and that's the thing we talked about, 10 drivers making their first start here at Michigan, including 6 of those drivers that started up in the top 14 spots. That's one of the guys that had a fast car, had a good starting position, but hey, that's part of it. You know, he just graduated from high school, for goodness sake, a few weeks ago.
You know, managing expectations in this sport is probably the hardest thing that you have to do. And unfortunately, when you come out of the box so strong, we've had a lot of guys in the ARCA Racing Series get their first wins in not that many number of starts, you know. So when you have that, you have success right out of the box, it's hard to sometimes understand that you're going to have bad luck. You're going to have rough days. And, you know, you look at Grant Enfinger, somebody that's been extremely successful in this series, and he still has bad days. Frank Kimmel still has bad days. You know, everybody has their bad days, but definitely, you know, at this early in their career, it sometimes is hard to understand how to deal with those.
All right, well, we've been listening into the radio a little bit on Matt Krzyzewski's car. Let's see if Matt Yoakum has more on what they're thinking.
A few moments ago, Ray, Matt told his team, I'm serious. I'm not joking. It really has started to rain down in turn 4. I am not joking. I'm dead serious. And then he also said, do you think the pace car could grab another gear and maybe pick up the pace a little bit?
Yeah. Hurry this thing along. Let's get past lap 51, right?
Absolutely. We see some trash on the grill actually right here. I mean, under caution, obviously, it's not going to raise the temperatures a whole lot. But if they do end up going back green, they're going to come to pit road. Hopefully, they'll get it off under their pit stop. But if that were to be under green, that could be catastrophic to their day.
Yeah, when the ARCA Racing officials give the signal for one to go, then they're going to come to pit road, do their pit work. But the nice thing is, you know, they probably will be able to make this thing on that one pit stop where everybody else pitted back on lap number 38. At least all the lead lap cars pitted on lap 38, 39. So they more than likely will have to come in again if this race goes the distance.
One of the things that will happen, though, is if that is the case, you know, it looks like he's coming to pit road now, actually.
He definitely is coming to pit road right now. Matt Kersey. Matt, what are they saying?
Well, that was the game plan. If they gave one to go, Matt was going to pull the 54 car down pit road and complete their normal service. Now, they told Ross Kansas to stay out. He's good to go. They're going to stay with their strategy. Meanwhile, the 6, Josh Williams, now he was talking about his car was a little bit more on the tight side. As you can see, a little bit of trouble with the jack. Finally gets around the front of the car. There's the 6 car. They've already completed his service, and he is away.
Yeah, Austin Wayne Self, the 98 car, was another one of the lead lap cars that came to pit road. Again, with 53 laps to go, if this race goes the distance, that's a little bit outside the pit window. But if we get a few more caution laps, they might be able to make it from here. We figure the pit window somewhere between 45 and 50 laps.
You know, I think one of the things you can do here under green, too, as big as this racetrack is, if it were to go green, and these guys are out there running by themselves, because it's so large, you can actually slow your pace down a pretty good bit without losing a whole lot of speed and be able to save enough fuel to maybe make it to the end. So a lot of strategies are going to be played out here, and I think the guy that has the best right foot control is going to be the one that's going to win this race.
The ARCA officials have said we'll get one to go coming up shortly, so join us when we come back after this break. Back to Michigan International Speedway. ARCA Racing Series is ready to go back to green flag. We had a brief rain shower. The green flag is out. Frank Kimmel and Grant Enfinger bring the field back down to the start-finish line.
Grant got a great restart there.
Trouble for the 55 of Cody Coughlin. Did not get up to speed. Stays out of the way. I'm not sure that car, if it's not under power, will make it back. He's only running, looks like about 50, 60 miles an hour.
You know, this is a team that made an engine change during practice. They had a bolt broke off on the butterfly and had a problem, so a new engine in there. Jim Trado, what are they saying on the radio?
Drivers saying the car will not go. They said try to put it in gear and fire that thing back up again, but it said no go, no fuel, no fire under the engine in the Jegs machine. They changed this engine last night from the backup car to this one, but he said the same issue has now reared its head, so it could be a fuel line issue here on the Jegs Toyota.
Tough break for Cody Coughlin from Delaware, Ohio. He'll be making his debut in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series coming up at Kentucky, but whether or not he can get back to pit road, who knows? Here's a good battle, though, as Tom Hessert now goes down to the inside, and the 52 car is really, really loose.
The caution is for Cody Coughlin not being able to make it back around. That was a great battle for the third spot. Ross Kenseth got a little bit loose, had to chase it up the hill. Then he got the right sides up out of the groove and really had his hands full.
I'll tell you, I don't know if they made any adjustments on that pit stop, but, he said his car was really good before the caution. Now he's back in traffic, and he hasn't really had to pass a whole lot of cars that are on the same speed.
He's in dirty air. He's in dirty air. He didn't have that before.
Now we talked earlier about being on the outside and getting up out of that black and into the gray, and we see the right rear tire just get up out of it a little bit, and now he's just holding on. He's trying to do everything that he can to keep that car from crashing. It does a great job. I mean, that Federated Auto Parts Chevy was completely sideways, and it, almost 200 miles an hour. That is not a good feeling, I can assure you.
You could see his hands inside the car, as busy as he was, but a great save. You see on the back of that car, Berlin 251. Big race at Berlin here in Michigan on Tuesday. Big race. I think Ross is going to run. I think several of the Cup drivers are going to be there to run. Eric Jones is going to run in that race as well. So it's a big race, and their sponsor made this possible for Ross to drive this Federated car for Kenny Schrader.
More on Ross Kenseth. Let's go to the pits and Matt Yoakum.
Ray, similar to the very first run where Ross said the 52 car was loose for the first 5 or 6 laps. That's what he told his team at the beginning of this run on the restart. He goes, the car is just so free at the beginning. It's a handful.
Well, we definitely saw that, Matt. He was whipping that wheel back and forth once he got up into the gray stuff, and we have now completed 51 laps of the 100 that are the scheduled distance today in the Corrigan Oil 200.
We went dirt racing the other night up here in northern Michigan, and Ross was there racing a dirt late model.
Yeah.
And so he was getting that thing sideways and, really feeling it out. So maybe we'll say that that's what made the change for today. That's why he didn't crash here at Michigan International Speedway.
That's the voice of Justin Allgaier, an ARCA expert, and we're going to jump on board with a couple of our cars today that have been carrying onboard cameras. The Uncle Ray's Potato Chips number 22 of Blake Jones. He was our Scott Brands rookie spotlight today. It's been a tough day for him as he was in the wall early. And we'll move forward now to the number 42. This is Bo Lamastis, and Bo currently running in the 11th position, just 1 lap down here at Michigan, trying to learn these big cars and doing a nice job. And we will go on board with the number 55. This is Cody Coughlin. It appears that car is being pushed through the center of the corner, so no power for the Jegs.com number 55. We'll see if the Venturini team can figure out the problem there. And then Will Kimmel, our number 69, onboard camera today, and Will in the garage area with our Ford onboard, and a tough day for Kimmel Racing. They have had an axle problem on the rear end of that race car, trying to get back in for those valuable owner points.
Yeah, and the problem is a lot of times when you break an axle, you can't really get it out. Sometimes you'll have to take the rear end gear out so you can get that axle out from the inside. So tough break for Will and Bill Kimmel.
The
good break, though, for Sarah Cornett Ching. She got the free pass here. She was the highest running non-lead lap car, so that will put her on the lead lap, and that will give us 11 cars on the lead lap here.
We were just talking about her, too. Doing a great job, getting to used to these big stock cars over the course of this year. Had a great run in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago, get her career best finish. So definitely doing a great job, and glad to see her get back on the lead lap. And maybe they made some adjustments on that last pit stop, got her tuned up and able to battle up there with some of those cars that are in front of her.
She's one of the Canadians in the field.
Lap 53 is complete here at the Michigan International Speedway. We see just a few drops on the screen there from our camera down in the center of the corner. Grant Enfinger pitted with a group of other cars on lap number 38. Our leader at that time was the 52 of Ross Kenseth. He had developed a huge lead, and while those 4 front runners came down pit road, the number 54 of Matt Kurziewski stayed on the racetrack, but they have since had to come down to put fuel in that number 54 and reshuffled the lineup. So it's Enfinger, Kimmel, Hessert, and Ross Kenseth at the front.
And this guy right here, Cole Powell, a Canadian running 5th, had a 3rd place finish at Talladega. This is only his 3rd start of the year, doing a nice job here in this 58 car, running up in the top 5.
Doing a great job. And obviously when you come here to Michigan, we're not too far from the border. We got a lot of Canadian race fans that come up here, so I'm sure he's wanting to fly that Canadian flag proud, and he's doing a great job of it so far.
David Levine has run every race of the season so far, but Michael Lira not old enough to compete in each event, so we've seen some other drivers on the big tracks in that number 58, that Tricar Ford. They've got a good team put together there, and they're just trying to get it all ready for when Michael's able to go full time.
See the 55 of Cody Coughlin. They look in the trunk. Are they working on the fuel pump or something like that, Jim?
Yes, they are. Good call on that, Phil. They said, let's get a fuel pump out. Let's get it going here, because they changed the motor. They looked at it extensively yesterday before they decided to make that change. The fuel system is what they're looking at now. They're going to change the fuel pump. They've got it in there now. It's just a matter of getting it changed. So they're being helped by this caution here in the slow laps. Again, this team is going for an owner's championship. Just 65 points out of the owner's championship lead and 30 ahead of third. So they're sitting second in owner's points, and I'm sure they want to get as many laps in for this 19-year-old driver.
And here's the really tough break, Jim. The thing is, they're second in those owner points behind car number 22, and they've already had a bad day, so there was a chance for them to really capitalize.
Yeah, right now there's still 3 laps ahead of the 22 if they can make the repairs on that Jegs car pretty quickly.
Cody Coughlin with a mixed bag this season. Of course, he had that great run at Daytona and then came back to Talladega with a second-place run. So today, not up to the standard that team has set forth. Here is Grant Enfinger, what he's done recently. We showed that video of the crash that he had at Toledo. That relegated him back to 19th, but from that point forward, they've gotten it back on track. Jim Trado.
Well, our drivers are going to start side by side on their front row. Grant Enfinger and Frank Kimmel did lead us on that last restart, but what they did under caution, the only time they came to pit road, they both changed 4 tires, but the handling issues were way different. The number 23 Allegiant Chevrolet for Grant Enfinger reported that the right front, he might have been pushing it too hard. Enfinger's very in tune with what his car is doing, so they made a slight adjustment with the track bar to get that car working better for him in that little tight condition. Frank Kimmel's actually battering a little bit of a tire chatter before he got a chance to put 4 Hoosiers on. That second car in line, that yellow and black Ansel Toyota. And also think of this. He said, I think it's loose off the corner. So I checked with his crew chief, Pickle London. I said, Pickle, what'd you do to fix the loose off? He said, nothing. I think the car is going to come to Frank, and I think we have the right setup. We only did a little bit of air pressure when he came down pit road to change that car over.
Well, thank you, Jim. The Venturini Motorsports team, a stalwart here in the ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards. They're a 39-time winner. And the race car that Frank Kimmel is driving today has more victories than any other chassis out of their group. So he knows it's a really good piece. It won at this racetrack just a year ago. So they know the equipment is there, and Frank has had nothing but praise for the time that he has spent driving for Bill and Billy Venturini.
You know, I never would have thought I would have seen the day that Frank Kimmel drove for Bill and Kathy Venturini and Billy Venturini, but really cool to see. They've done a great job with it this year. And obviously, there's no slouch behind the seat either. You know, we talked about how good the car is, but Frank has been around this series for so long and done such a great job that to see him up there and being competitive and going for wins obviously is really important.
Well, didn't you break his streak of championships? How many championships did he have in a row before this young man here?
Algar came in 2008 and put a stop to that.
I think it was 9 in a row for Frank. Yeah.
There's a shot of Big Bill Venturini, a guy who has done a lot in racing. Won races himself as a driver and
champion right here in this series.
Absolutely.
Two-time
Grant
champion.
Enfinger is out front of the field. It's the ARCA 200 from Michigan International Speedway. And we're going to get 1 to go, I think, this time from the ARCA officials, as we want to go back to green flag and work this thing out. And it appears that Matt Kurziewski is going to come down pit road one more time. He is the driver that tried to stay out and play this thing, but it just didn't work.
You know, I think this is the right call. You know, obviously, we noticed that they didn't take fuel earlier whenever they came back in. Now they're going to pack this thing full of fuel, make sure that they're good to go to the end. And if they are, and we do go all the way to the lap 100 without the weather coming back, they might be in the catbird seat.
And we only have 11 cars on the lead lap, so he's not like he's going to restart 30th in line.
I wonder what all the calculations are down there. Those guys had to figure out all of these laps that we've been under yellow. For more on the strategy, let's go back to Jim Trado.
Kalikovsky is the crew chief for Grant Enfinger in that blue number 23. He just told me they will be short on fuel no matter what lap we go back to green. I walked down and checked the pits of Frank Kimmel's team. Pickle London looked at me and said, we are good to go short of a green-white checker. We're not coming back to pit road. Drastically different. Cross fingers here for the points leader as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Kalikovsky and you can't make it the rest of the way, we know there's weather in the area, obviously, but why not come in and top it off?
Well, I think right now we got a lot of poker faces going on, and a lot of these guys are saying they can make it, but I really think that we're going to have some more caution flag laps. And if we do, I think these guys up front especially are going to be able to make the distance. As long as we have, 4 or 5 more caution laps, I think we'll be fine.
That's 62 laps now, Justin. Well, I know it'd be green, caution, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're getting, 2.5 laps extra, green flag to yellow flag laps, what you can go on fuel. So it's going to be interesting for sure.
Ross Kenseth has led 37 laps. Grant Enfinger's been out front for 12. Matt Kurziewski gambled a bit and led 9 laps while we were under caution. But we're ready to go back to green flag racing. They'll take lap number 60 this time as they come down to the start-finish line. Frank Kimmel and Grant Enfinger bring the field back to green.
Another great start by Grant Enfinger getting out front.
How about Kenseth jumps down to the inside, going to pass 2 cars possibly.
We talked about how loose his race car is on the starts here, so hopefully he'll be able to make it through here without, getting loose on the inside of some of these guys. Looks like he's going to clear the pass on Frank Kimmel.
Ross Kenseth had that thing right down on the yellow line that time as he was able to go by Kimmel. That puts him into 3rd place, and a great run for the number 77 of Hessert, who has moved up to 2nd right behind Enfinger. And don't count out Josh Williams, the old number 6, that orange car there, the Musselman's applesauce car. He is right in the thick of this thing.
Been really impressed with Tom Hessert. He really has had some speed all weekend. He was very good in practice yesterday. Had a good runs, had a good starting position here in this race. Started in the 5th spot, looking pretty good.
Looking real good. Teammates to the number 22, and I feel like sometimes they have some really strong runs, and then other times they've just had really bad luck, it seems like. And so I know he would really be looking forward to a good finish today if they can keep it up. And he's actually gaining on the leader, it looks like, here as we go.
That's chassis 111. They used that car last week when we raced at Pocono, and Chad Bryant, the crew chief, told me they have more laps on this ARCA Ilmore 396 than any other team out there. This will probably be the last race that they use it before it gets a rebuild.
We watched the 52 right there, Ross Kenseth. That's Kenny Schrader's team. Kenny Schrader ran the same engine in the first 7 races in that 52 car this year before they had to rebuild it.
He won the race at Salem. They took that engine and put it in the Talladega race car. How cool is that?
It's really unheard of in really any form of motorsports at this level. And to see these guys be able to run these engines as long as they are. And for Tom to be up there in 2nd, gaining on the leader with an engine that they feel like is worn out is pretty incredible.
Good battle here is Cole Powell, and that number 58 is coming up, and they are trying to figure out 5th place as the yellow flag comes out once again. Yellow will be out as we've got a problem down in turn number 1. There's a race car that is not under power, and that is the number 9 DK Lock Ford of Thomas Prater out of Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, tough break for Thomas. Has a lot of people here, a lot of the DK Lock people on board here. He pitted on lap number 52, so it's definitely not out of fuel. He's got fuel in the tank in that 9 car, but tough break for Thomas.
Not like Pocono.
Not like Pocono. Yeah, Pocono was a little bit funny. I was standing kind of near their pit stall, and his dad told me that they just didn't calculate the numbers right, and they ran him clean out of fuel. So they will not run on fumes, if you will.
The number 42 of Bo Lamastus from Louisville, Kentucky will be our free pass this time. He'll get back on the lead lap, and we'll look at the CrossFitFans.com on board. Bo doing a nice job today and learning a little bit here at Michigan.
Yeah, been really solid. The last 4 races, top 15 finishes. We mentioned earlier, had that 9th place run at Talladega. That was his best career finish. Has a lot of help from Jeff Bodine. Jeff Bodine kind of coaches him a little bit and really doing a nice job.
And Sterling Marlin has been helping him a lot as they've raced at the Nashville Fairgrounds. So he's got a couple of really good mentors as he tries to learn these big cars. And Bo Lamastus will be our free pass and get back onto the lead lap. We're going to have a quickie yellow here, so they tell everybody 1 chance for you to come down pit road. Our front running cars said no thank you.
Well, these caution laps are going to help. We've been talking about they're going to have to run, if we go this full distance, 62 laps without a green-white checker. They're going to need the caution laps to save some fuel. We do have some takers, but Krzyzewski is back on pit road here. He's the only second. Bobby Hamilton Jr. is also on the lead lap in the 97 car. He's on pit road as well. There's Will Kimmel. We talk about the problems that Will's had. Broke that axle. He's going to come in, top off a little bit with fuel, make sure he has enough. Will right now is being shown 14 laps down in the 19th spot.
Most everybody that's come on, it looks like, is just going to take fuel only, but we see Krzyzewski here. He's going to actually get 4 tires, so they must feel like that You know, the car wasn't exactly where they wanted it to be when they took back off. Maybe they feel like we're going to make it all the way to the end, so go ahead and take those 4 fresh Hoosiers and try and be able to work their way up through the field.
After he pitted the first time, he reported a vibration. They came back in, tightened the lug nuts, but it looks like they may have some sort of an issue with the left rear. Now they're putting that tire on.
Ross Kenseth having a good day today. Donnie Richardson is his crew chief, and I believe Matt Yoakum has found him.
Rain is still a concern here at MIS. And more caution laps. So where do you stand on fuel mileage? How far can you go?
At this point, it doesn't matter. It's either win it or run out of gas. You know, we got so many caution laps here that, boy, we certainly wasn't anticipating. So adding it up, it still leaves you like 1 short or something, 1 or 2. But at that point, it doesn't matter. You can't stop. We're just going to have to try to get the lead and hope we can get the lead like we had in the first half. Then we can backpedal a little bit, save a little fuel, and maybe we can get this federated car in victory lane, get Ross the win here.
They worked it on the calculator. In fact, he's even been working mileage on his hand. He's used up one hand. He may have to try to use the other.
If you notice, he's sitting on pit wall. Most crew chiefs, they're up on the box. They're sitting up there, and they're enjoying their day. Donnie looks like he's sitting down on pit wall. He's stressing out a little bit, but I know that those guys do a great job. Everybody at Ken Trader Racing does a great job with that Federated Auto Parts number 52.
I just mentioned that Camping World Trucks is a gateway. You know Matt Tiff's got to have his eye on this race, too. He's over there competing, but next week in Chicago, he'll be back behind the wheel of the 52.
You know, last week, we talked about guys using cars week to week. Last week, the 52 team, they lost a car at Pocono during qualifying. So I know that they had a really, really fast car in practice, lost a car qualifying. Now they're coming here, and obviously they're running really strong. They go next week to Chicagoland on June 20th. So they're going to, be looking forward to hopefully take this car again and have a dominant race car again.
They'll go short tracking at Winchester, and then we're off to Iowa Speedway, July 17th. That'll be on Fox Sports 1, and also the Lucas Oil Raceway. Always one of my favorite tracks to watch ARCA racing, so that'll be cool. And then off back to Pocono once again. So lots of ARCA racing coming your way on the Fox family of networks. So a number of guys have said, no way, we're not pitting. The track position is too important. 64 laps complete of 100 now. Tommy Hessert with a very fast race car. He's on the inside of Grant Enfinger. Right behind them, Ross Kenseth and Frank Kimmel. Those front 4 will try to battle it out. Can Josh Williams get in? We'll find out. Green flag back underway.
Keep an eye on Kenseth. Remember, he jumped down to the inside, made it 3 wide. Looked like he's tucked in behind Tom Hessert right now.
Josh Williams taking a peek below that number 52. Kimmel up on the high side. Looks like Cole Powell going to the high side.
Ross Kenseth was not able to clear Frank Kimmel. Frank's going to bring his car around the outside to take over the 3rd spot.
Boy, look how fast Josh Williams starts to close on that 52. Looks like he may have had to get into the brakes a bit.
Yeah, when you've got a car like that where, we saw the 52 trying to make that pass, lost a little bit of momentum off of turn 2. It really looks like the guy behind him has a lot more horsepower, a lot more speed. What it really is, the guy on the bottom just loses that momentum. The draft comes into effect. We talked about it earlier. These guys are really running up on the other cars in front of them at a pretty high rate of speed. So I'm sure it catches you a little off guard. Not only do you catch them quickly, but then you've got extra miles per hour into the next corner, so you got to be able to hold it if you have the extra speed.
That's the voice of Justin Allgaier. He's up in the booth alongside Phil Parsons. I'm Ray Dunlap. Thanks for joining us today. Jim Trado and Matt Yoakum have you covered down in the pits, and we have got a pretty good battle here. And it looks like the 52 going to try to go to the bottom side of Kimmel. Can he take over 3rd?
We saw that car being really loose the first few laps after restart. Looked like it's really underneath him now.
Which position do you want, guys, top or bottom?
I think the top is the preferred line, but one of the things that I'm really impressed with the 52 car is being able to turn all the way down to the yellow line like that, run the bottom. Obviously, we see him get clear here. He was able to drive down into the corner. We talk about being loose at the start of a run. Well, in the ARCA Racing Series here, we're limited to the number of Hoosier racing tires that we can have throughout the course of an event. So when you run...
trouble for Bobby Hamilton Jr. Sorry, Justin.
97 car into the wall with heavy damage on the right side. And that is going to bring out another yellow here at Michigan International Speedway. Hasn't yet. ARCA officials trying to see if he can get down off of the racing surface.
Yeah, normally when a car hits the wall that hard, you're going to see some debris. A lot of times it breaks the brake rotor in that right front, but I'm sure the ARCA officials are checking the racetrack. They don't see anything right now. A lot of damage to that 97 car. There's definitely some debris coming out. Maybe just be tire rubber, but definitely some debris on the racetrack.
We just saw Bobby Hamilton come to pit road a few laps ago, so You know, we know that he had fresh tires. I'm not sure what transpired to put him into the wall right there, but that thing just went straight up into the outside wall. And even though we have safer barriers and soft walls, they're not so soft, and they definitely do a lot of damage.
Here's on board with the 22 car. It's a bit of a look.
Yeah, he's going to, it looks like the right front tire goes down, or else he breaks something in the right front suspension. It has the same appearance, but you can see all the damage to that 97 car. Tough break, too. Bobby Jr. was running up in the top 10.
The ARCA Racing officials said we have some debris on the racetrack, so we'll go back to caution once again. Grant Enfinger out front of the ARCA Michigan 200. Guys, we've got some ARCA Racing coming your way as we go to Chicagoland Speedway next week. It's going to be the Scott's 150. You can tune in and check that out right here on Fox Sports 2. We'll bring you the action starting at 7 p.m. And guess who will have a fast race car there? I'll bet you the 22 and 77. They love Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah, again, we mentioned Josh Williams will be in that 22 car next week at Chicago.
Chicago is one of those racetracks that is so much fun because it's a typical mile-and-a-half that we go to a lot, but it's got a lot of character. Doesn't have as much grip as maybe some of the other mile-and-a-halves, and it's just a fun racetrack.
Guys, we talked a few minutes ago to Matt Krzyzewski. Let's see if we can talk to that 52 car, Ross Kenseth. Hey, Ross Kenseth, Phil Parsons up in the Fox Sports 2 booth. You got a copy?
That's for loud clear.
You've been giving that thing a nice ride here. Are you having any issues in dirty air, Ross? That thing was so good when you're out front early in the race. Now you're back, obviously, in a little bit of traffic up in the third spot.
Yeah, it just seems to take this thing, you know, about 3 or 4 laps here to get settled in. And it's real free initially on a restart here, so you gotta flip the switches a little bit. But I feel like once we get single file like that, we can, you know, I feel like we're a little bit better than these guys. We just need to have a couple laps here without some sort of caution.
Yeah, there certainly has been a lot of caution laps. I know this is the first time on a track this big, and you've given that thing a great ride. Keep it up, bud.
Thank you, sir.
Nice job, Ross Kenseth today. His dad, Matt, obviously a former winner here at the Michigan International Speedway. 2006 in August, he took the checkered flag at this racetrack, and if Ross Kenseth was able to pull off the win today, he would join a very, very interesting list of father and son combinations that have won here. How about Rusty and Stephen Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Dale Jr., and Kerry Earnhardt, also Bob and Brad Keselowski, Bobby and Davey Allison. So Ross trying to join a very exclusive list today if he were able to pull off that victory.
Yeah, a lot of wins in that list.
A lot of wins, and it is scary to listen to Ross because he sounds just like his dad. I mean, that calm demeanor, obviously extremely talented behind the wheel, and definitely has a bright future ahead of him.
You know, this race car that Schrader Racing brought this weekend doesn't run very often. This is one of their intermediate cars they haven't used a lot. It finished third last year at Chicago, and then they ran it here and got a fender knocked in at Michigan. So Donnie Richardson said they don't know as much about that car as normal.
That's going to be our free pass right there, the 48, James Swanson. So that will put him back on the lead lap. We'll have 12 cars on the lead lap.
You know, I wanted to mention mykdcompany.com. That's on the James Swanson car. It's a sponsor from Joanne Zacharias, and they've got a really cool charity that they're trying to help out a bunch of young kids. So if you get a chance, take a look at their website. And James Swanson moved back into the top 10 last week after a good run at Pocono, and today he's driving the Radon.com number 48.
Remember, that's James Hilton's car, that 48. That James had so much success in over the years. Was the Rookie of the Year in the Cup Series back in 1966. That you weren't very old, but
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't even thought about. I'll tell you though, if you ever have the chance to meet James Hilton, he is probably one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet in your entire life. I know he wished he was still behind the wheel, but I can't imagine how many laps he's run in his entire career.
We timed him out a year or two ago.
Yeah, I think I was around when he made his final run, and he definitely has had a great career. So glad to see that team still thriving and going on each and every week.
James Swanson making his 50th start in the ARCA Racing Series today. Here's a look back on board that number 22 car of Blake Jones. Doesn't look like he feels any better about his position on the racetrack right now.
No, unfortunately.
Back in 17th place, and on the Crosley on board with Bo Lamastus, he's up in 9th position right now. That's a good run for car number 42.
Cody Coughlin, the Jegs.com on boards, obviously had his problem stalled on the racetrack. Right now running back in the 16th spot.
7 laps down for Cody Coughlin. And then Will Kimmel in our Ford on board had a bad day today as they had a rear axle break on car number 69. So a couple of our onboards not being very productive today. 3 of those guys having trouble out of our 4.
Yeah, but really good work by the crews to get those cars back on the racetrack, though.
Okay, so our front-running cars have decided they're staying out no matter what. 27 laps to go here at Michigan. Hessert on the inside. Here goes Grant Enfinger. Ross Kenseth right behind him in one car having a problem getting started. That is the number 58 of Cole Powell. Did not go in his tri-car Ford.
We saw some fire out of the tailpipe, some sort of an electrical problem, it looks like. He had a little bit of contact. How about side-by-side for the lead? Tom Hessert was up there besides Enfinger. Here comes Ross Kenseth to the inside of Hessert.
Kenseth now trying to make a move for second place. Frank Kimmel hanging right in there in the mix. Here they go side by side down the back straightaway heading to turn number 3 and give Ross Kenseth second place.
Well, that 52 car is just so strong into the corner. You know, he's talked about being loose off the corner, but into the corner, it just really charges, and it seems like he's able to make those passes that a lot of these guys aren't able to make.
And we've probably run enough laps now, burn enough fuel off that Ross Kenseth's car is a little bit better even on the initial starts.
Those guys were a little bit worried. We heard him talking to Donnie Richardson. Can he make it? Well, those last couple caution laps certainly should play to their favor.
Another car we haven't really seen a whole lot of is the 98 of Austin Wayne Self. He's put himself up there in position, battling it out with Frank Kimmel there for the 5th position.
Saw Cole Powell, who's very, very slow on the backstretch. He may have issues getting back around, Matt.
Phil, he was telling his team the car is stuck in second gear. Transmission issues for Cole Powell.
What a tough break there. That's what you typically will restart these races in second gear. When he tried to go from the second to the 3rd gear on the restart, just didn't go.
And we saw the flames come out the exhaust, so it's probably up against the rev limiter. Yeah. When it gets up against the rev limiter like that, it cuts fuel and starts doing some things with the timing to make sure that you don't over rev these Ilmor engines and blow them up. So unfortunately for him, going to be a tough day.
A couple of drivers did a nice job of avoiding him on that restart, and we're back up front right now. Grant Enfinger with a very fast Allegiant Travel number 23, but Ross Kenseth is closing that gap right now down to less than half a second.
Guys, they're running really fast laps within a half a tenth of a second of their. As a matter of fact, both those cars ran their fastest lap of the race just now, this last lap.
Enfinger went through a similar thing last year. He won the first 3 races, then had a little bit of a dry spell, and then came back to get 3 more wins throughout the end of the season. This year he's talking about they need to even improve on that.
Right along with that 59 for a moment. That's David Levine running in the 8th spot. Good run going for him. Look at that car through the center of the corner.
We talked earlier about starting your car a little bit on the free side, a little bit on the loose side, so that when the end of a run comes, your car's really good. Obviously right now that 52 car, it's just he's able to go right to the bottom and do what he wants to do and drive that car wherever he wants to go to. Matt, you got some more for us?
This is exactly what Ross Kenseth needed. The previous lap, he was 2/10 faster than Enfinger. If this can run out to the finish here, he'll be in a great spot to capitalize.
On the way to 20 to go here, my question is, does it pay him dividends to stay in the back there and draft for a while, or do you say, no matter what, I want to be out front?
I think right now he would like to get that lead, because you never know. We've had some weather in the area. Go ahead and get that lead, and then try to back it up, maybe try to open it up a little bit. But he's going to have to get by Grant Enfinger before any of that's going to work.
Well, Donnie Richardson earlier said that they like to be out front so that they can pace everybody else. They feel like if they can run their race, they can back everybody up a little bit with him. Right now, the lap times, I mean, we're seeing Grant Enfinger be able to pull back away a little bit. I don't know if the dirty air is messing, you know, Ross Kenseth's car up or not, but definitely a strong run by both these competitors.
What a great learning experience it is for him, though. We're talking about him making just his 3rd career start, and we've got a good battle here for 5th. Matt Kurziewski coming back up on the rear of that number 98 of Austin Wayne Self, the AM Technical Solutions car, and these 2 guys really having a good tussle. Now looks like Kurziewski's going to go to the bottom.
And this is the race of the guys that pitted after lap 38. Michael, Austin Wayne Self pitted on lap number 48. Kurziewski all the way back on lap number 63. So we know Kurziewski can make it the rest of the way.
Fuel.
For fuel. We know that Self can probably make it pitting on lap 48, but I'm still not sure about the guys that pitted on lap number 38.
Well, they're hoping that the guys up front aren't going to make it either, and they want to be the guy that's ahead of the other one, you know, to be the first car that knows that they have enough fuel to make it all the way to the end. So this is the battle within the battle, if you will, and they're hoping that nobody else can make it.
Mark Browning calling the shots today for that number 98 of Austin Wayne Self. Self has been hanging right in there in the points. He's 4th in points, just 145 out, but I say just, that's a lot, but no question there's still an awful lot of racing to go throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, there certainly is. And you know, this new Ilmor engine, we don't have a whole lot of history with this. It's new for this year, so you know, maybe these guys, and we've never run it here at Michigan, so you know, they think they're going to get X amount of laps per caution lap, you know, but maybe at the end of the day they're going to misfigure, and this might be a battle for the win right here.
Yeah, you know, this new engine is really revolutionized the way we do everything, but as you mentioned, we don't have a lot of experience on it, and I think sometimes, especially in the ARCA Racing Series, you've got somebody that maybe they get a good run throughout the first run of the day. They calculate their fuel mileage again, and they feel really good about it. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't always apply to every lap of every race that you run in, so going to be interesting to see, you know, where they end up here.
For more on the 98, let's go back trackside to Matt Yoakum.
Much of the race, Ray, Austin Wave Self has been battling a tight race car through the center of the corner. He had to make a visit to pit road because they had a loose right front. And remember, this is the car that Mason Mitchell nearly won Pocono with, finishing 3rd.
Definitely a good race car for sure. They've had a lot of success with that. Finished 2nd 3 different times, and Austin Wayne drove this car at Nashville and had a top 5 finish.
Remember, Austin Wayne Self was not old enough to run Daytona last year, so he had to skip that race, ran the remaining races, finished 6th in points. Great first year for Austin Wayne Self.
So these two drivers hoping that our front runners don't have enough fuel and can't make it. Grant Enfinger, an 11-time winner in this series, is out front, but Ross Kenseth right behind him would be looking for his first career win. And there is the interval between those front 2 cars. Enfinger with about 3/10 over the number 52. And here we see Cody Coughlin having a battle with the number 59. Coughlin is a couple of laps down, so those two actually not racing for position.
You know, one of the things that we're noticing right now, these two leaders are basically matching lap times lap for lap. They're running darn near their fastest laps that they've run. Both drivers right around the lap 80 mark ran their fastest lap of the race. With 15 to go, 16 to go now, you know, you're really hoping that your car is coming to life. You're burning the fuel off, and that car is driving exactly how you want it to. We see both of these guys able to drive right down to the bottom. It's going to be a great battle all the way to the end here if we stay green.
And they're not saving any fuel right now.
No, unfortunately, they're hoping that the calculations will work, that it goes all the way green, and they're going to have enough fuel.
And that differential of 1/3 of a second has stayed just about the same. Matt Yoakum.
And Ross Kenseth telling Donnie Richardson that the car starts to wash out. It gets tight when he makes a run on Enfinger. So tight is his biggest issue, but he has closed a little bit. Jim.
One thing to keep in mind for our race leaders, the 77 of Tom Hessert has challenged for the lead on 2 occasions. That team was close on fuel. They were 8 laps short. Then they were 4 laps short because of the numerous cautions we had later in the going. Well, guess what? I just checked with his crew chief, Chad Bryant. He said, we're really tight on fuel. Really close to running out. Same story for Grant Enfinger, by the way.
That means that they've calculated, and they've calculated it again, and they're still shorter than they'd like to be, but we're going to go ahead and run it all the way to the end anyways.
And guess what? He was just a little bit short at Talladega, too.
Here goes the lead. He's going to use the outside. Ross Kenseth jumps to the outside of Grant Enfinger.
Take a look at this. Enfinger using the bottom of the racetrack, trying to keep it close, but on the high side, the 52 of Ross Kenseth back to the lead.
You know, I would not be shocked if we heard Ross Kenseth talk about getting really tight when he drove up on Grant Enfinger on the bottom. Then maybe his dad said, well, try him on the top then. It looks like that's exactly what happened.
You're getting the front of these cars out in clean air is so important. You know, obviously this is still the older style body. You know, this isn't what the NASCAR cars have been updated to here in the last few years. This body's been around for a long time. These guys understand these race cars very well. And he made a classic move right there. You know, he had the faster car. He was able to get to the outside. And once he got to the outside, it was pretty much a moot point. I do have to wonder, though, however, you know, they're still running extremely fast, but is the 23 saving a little bit of fuel? You know, we don't know where these guys are at. They all feel like they're close, but are they saving fuel?
Remember, 2 very differing agendas here. Ross Kenseth's here for one thing only, win the race. Grant Enfinger's looking at a big picture.
We heard Donnie Richardson say, we're here to win. We're not coming down pit road. We're here to win. Right now, they're certainly in the driver's seat. We have 12 laps to go, and I'm not sure if these guys have enough fuel to get there. But right now, you see him opening up a little bit of a lead, but he ran within a 3/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second of his fastest lap. You see him open up now probably about 3/4 of a second lead right there on the 23, Jim.
With the championship in mind, his crew chief Kelly Kofsky has told Grant Enfinger, go into conservation mode. I need help from the spotter. I need help from everybody else on the racetrack. We need clean air, but more importantly, we need to back off our pace to finish this race. Matt?
Jim, once Ross Kansas settled in after taking the lead, he keyed the mic and said, clean air sure feels nice. And to answer your question, his championship father, winning father, Matt Kenseth, has been silent the entire race, just listening on the radio.
Keep in mind, there are 5 bonus points available for the driver who leads the most laps. Grant Enfinger's led 40. Guess how many Ross Kenseth have led?
Well, it's going to be 41 here in a few seconds.
There you go. So he's stealing points away from that 23.
Yeah, I think Kelly Kofsky made the right choice, though. I think saving fuel, making sure you can go the distance. If you run out right now, let's say you lose it by a lap or two, you're going to lose 10, 12, 15 spots. Right. And I think that, you know, in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, that's going to be the call that may end up maybe winning this race, but that's a championship call right there.
10 laps to go here as Ross Kenseth is putting Kenny Schrader's Federated Auto Parts car out to the front.
Yeah, he slowed down a half a second that last lap from the lap before that, so he's definitely trying to conserve some fuel. We saw him move over to get behind the 48 of James Swanson to try to use a little bit of draft. Any car he sees, he wants to get a little bit of draft, maybe save a little bit more fuel. He can back off a little bit now. He's opened up over a second lead on Grant Enfinger, who's also in conservation mode.
Well, we talked about it earlier. Donnie Richardson said they'd love to be out front and be able to control the pace. Right now they're doing that, so you know, they're slowing down over a second a lap from what they were running just a few laps ago, so definitely in conserve mode.
Tommy Hessert running in 3rd right now in that points battle. Josh Williams running in 7th in that points battle. It looks like these guys are just right together every week, everywhere we go. You really can't separate them by very much.
Ross Kenseth came to Kansas last year for his first start on a super speedway ever. He got in a car that really we weren't used to seeing run up front and had a 3rd place finish. So we knew that Ross Kenseth had the talent to jump in one of these cars and compete. And
he battled for the lead all night. That, you know, he ultimately finished 3rd, but he battled for the lead all night and come down to the end of the race. So definitely, if he can pull the victory off here, they'll be super excited. And I know that whole Ken Schrader racing team will be pumped up.
Part of what I love about it too is Matt Kenseth has not said, look, here, I'll give you a big handful of money, go get whatever you can. He said, you have to earn it. You've got to go out and prove by winning short track races that you deserve this opportunity.
And he's done a nice job too, as we talk about. Berlin Raceway came on board to help make this happen for Ross. And he's really doing a nice job here, regardless of what happens. Uh-oh, problems. Out of fuel for Enfinger, is it?
Could it possibly be with 8 laps to go? Jim Trado, what are they saying?
Enfinger was begging his crew chief, can I please stay out? Can I please stay out? And Kofsky said, you've got to save fuel. Grant said, when it sputters, I'll come. Guess what? That Elysian Chevy's coming down pit road right now. He said, let's put a couple of seconds of fuel in. Enfinger making the call from the cockpit. We need to pit for fuel. We're out.
Gives up 2nd place on the racetrack with inside of 7 laps to go to get fuel.
And guess who's worried to death now? Donnie Richardson and Ross Kenseth. Again, these guys have the same engines, the same throttle bodies, the same tune-up of these engines. It would be hard to believe that one of them would get a lot better fuel mileage unless he saved more fuel.
I thought for sure at lap 98 we might be telling this story, but not at 93.
Not at 93. I'm really surprised to see that car sputter. You know, we obviously don't know how much fuel they got in it the first time. You know, maybe they didn't get it quite fuel. We saw them waiting on the fuel, so be interesting to see how this plays out here.
Anything saying on the radio, Matt?
Now, Donnie Richardson told us earlier it was going to be very close, just trying to factor in all the caution laps. A few moments ago, he told Ross, okay, we have a 3.5-second lead. Let's start to back it down, back it down, back it down. Now it's gone to a 2.7-second lead. They're hoping to hold on. They think they have enough fuel to go the distance. They're just not sure.
And guess who's in 2nd place? Tom Hessert, but here comes Frank Kimmel. So these two are going to have a good battle for 2nd place. Remember, Hessert cares about the points. Kimmel, not so much.
Yeah, remember, these guys pitted at lap 38 as well, so on their exact same strategy as Ross Kenseth. Look at Frank jump to the inside.
Boy, this is an aggressive battle when you've got the guys out front saving fuel. Obviously, Grant Enfinger already coming to pit road, so this is an aggressive battle, but these guys both want to be out front and then hope that they don't run out of fuel either car.
We'll keep our eye on that differential between Ross Kenseth and Tommy Hessert and Frank Kimmel. These two side by side now as Kimmel takes a look down to the inside.
Got a slow car in front. That's Blake Jones. Frank's going to use a little bit of draft off of Blake Jones. Try to get by Tom Hessert. These guys are used to racing against each other. They've done it for years.
Chassis number 68 that Frank Kimmel's driving today has won more races for Venturini Motorsports than any other car. It may take Ross Kenseth running out of fuel for that to play out again today. Frank Kimmel, an 80-time winner here in ARCA.
You know, if these guys all make it on fuel, then you wonder if maybe Grant Enfinger's guys didn't get his car full, because there shouldn't be that much difference in the fuel mileage.
Yeah, we saw him earlier wait on fuel. I just wonder if maybe there wasn't an issue with getting it plugged in, something like that, because you know, I feel like they definitely should have made it a lot closer than 7 laps to go.
Enfinger now is being shown in 8th position, but he's about 38 seconds back, so that could be a tough break for them. What about the 77? What are they saying, Jim Trado?
Well, he somewhat surrendered second place. He is in conservation mode now. As crew chief Chad Bryant said, we're 2 laps short on fuel. Back down the pace. He came into this race 3rd in the point standings. It's a huge move, a huge gamble by this team. The 77 team is staying out to the finish, but they have to slow the pace to do that.
Austin Wayne Self has moved up to 4th position now. Another one of those drivers that we need to keep an eye on. And here comes Austin Wayne right up to the bumper of Tommy Hessert. Remember, every position matters in points in ARCA.
Well, and we know that Austin Wayne Self pitted on lap 48, so he's got 10 extra laps of fuel on these other guys, so he should be good to go the distance, no problem.
Definitely can push that pedal just a little bit harder, right?
He can for sure.
This is Tommy Hessert, Austin Wayne Self. Those 2 guys are battling for 3rd. Our front runner is Ross Kenseth. Does he have enough fuel to make it all the way around? 2 more times around this 2-mile Michigan International Speedway.
We see that lead gap closing quite a bit. You know, the 2nd place car, Frank Kimmel, he is still, you know, in the gas coming forward. He's running almost a second a lap faster than what Ross Kenseth is, so they're pushing it. You know, they feel like they got enough fuel to push it all the way to the end and definitely closing the gap.
The Federated Auto Parts car comes by the start-finish line for the white flag. 2 miles to go for Ross Kenseth. Can he get his first win ever in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards?
He's going to exit turn 2 still under power. There's Donnie Riches and Ross's dad, Matt. They said, please have enough fuel to go 1 more mile.
You know, Federated Auto Parts has supported Kenny Schrader's racing program for a long time, and obviously a lot of different series, so love to see those guys go to victory lane, and looks like they're going to be able to pull it off here.
Fathers and sons that have won at the Michigan International Speedway. Rusty and Stephen Wallace. How about the Earnhardts, Keselowskis, and Allisons? And now you can add Kenseth to the list. Ross Kenseth wins the Corrigan Oil 200.
What a great job. And how about a happy crew down there? I guarantee that's a happy dad right there. He may not be smiling really big on the outside, but he's smiling on the inside.
Matt Yoakum is standing by with Matt Kenseth.
And Matt, this is really every father's dream, seeing a child succeed. And what does it mean to you to see what he has pulled off today and earned it?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Doesn't work me up too much, but yeah, I was glad he won it. He did a great job. Thanks to Kenny Schrader and all these guys on his team. And Ross has been working really hard, particularly last year, to try to get some opportunities. Gets to drive the Dollar General car next weekend, thanks to my friends at JGR and Dollar General and the 20 cars. So this is a great weekend for him here, and looking forward to spending a weekend with him in Chicago.
Thanks, Matt.
I think it's a good thing he had those sunglasses on to not show any emotion right there.
What a great job by Ross, though. We led this race early on, dominated early, got back a little bit in traffic, and struggled a little bit with his handling after a restart, but once that thing got going, he was fast.
And today's win for Schrader Racing is victory number 27 in the series. That moves them past K Automotive into 5th place all by themselves, and they're just a few back of the Rouleau brothers. So good run by Kenny Schrader. Schrader became our oldest winner in the ARCA Racing Series when he won at Salem Speedway.
He keeps extending that run.
He keeps extending it. Adding to it.
He's not done yet either. I think Winchester might be his next start.
And he's got a good shot at going up there and winning it.
Matt Tifft will drive this race car when we go to Chicagoland Speedway. But today, it's Ross Kenseth getting the victory. They play the fuel mileage game and bring it home today. It did not work out so well for Grant Enfinger, who will finish 8th today and lose some points.
I wonder if maybe that thing blubbered a little bit and Grant said, I got to come to pit road, but maybe still had some fuel in the tank because all the other guys that pitted on lap number 38 made it.
Yeah, but the one thing you have to remember, if there's any air bubbles in that fuel line, it doesn't take much for them to lose the position on fuel there.
Check out the parity we have at the top of the field. Kenseth wins in a Chevrolet. Kimmel has his Toyota. Then it's Austin Wayne Self's Ford and a Dodge from Cunningham Motorsports. As we look back through the field, you'll see where your favorite drivers finished today.
Another top 5 for Krzyzewski, 2 top 5s in a row for him. Great job. Josh Williams stays up there with another top 10 finish. How about Sarah Cornett-Ching finishes 9th at Michigan on the Super Speedway?
Great job for her.
Oh, her career best, 8th at Talladega. Another good run for the 2-car and Tony Blanchard. So back through the field here, you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. had problems in his Titan 1000 car. He crashed and had pretty significant damage. David Sear making his 4th start. Kevin Hinkle in his very first career start in ARCA will finish 24th today. And Wayne Peterson rounds out the field of our 27 entered, but what a day for Ross Kenseth, a moment he's been waiting for a long time to get an opportunity to prove that he can come on the big tracks and get it done.
Yeah, he certainly has, and we've been worried about him fueling. He's got enough fuel to do burnouts and parade laps and driving into victory lane.
So tomorrow night I get to go race my dirt car at Plymouth Speedway, and we're fortunate enough to be teammates, Federated Auto Part teammates. So it's good to see that car in victory lane. Hopefully I can take those same colors to victory lane tomorrow night. I'm not sure. And then we got the race on Sunday, so I'd like to see that victory lane and have that fuel mileage like he just had.
Great run today from Ross Kenseth, making just his 4th career start here in the ARCA Racing Series.
I'm not sure where Kenny Schrader is right now. I know he's off racing somewhere, but I know he's pretty happy.
For sure he's happy.
Actually, this is Ross's 3rd start in ARCA, so to win in your 3rd start, a very cool thing for sure.
I mean, he's only won 1/3 of the time.
Yeah,
you know, that's not too
33%, pretty good.
Not too bad odds.
Pretty cool deal, though, to have his dad here and listening in on the radio, able to watch that, for them to be able to share it together.
And it's a huge weekend. I mean, obviously, Ross wants to make it to the Sprint Cup Series, and you've got all the series here this weekend, so this is a huge win for him.
Matt Yoakum's in victory lane. Let's hear from our winner, Ross Kenseth.
This young man started racing in 2008. He won the All-American 400, the Winchester 400, marquee events. Ross, what's it mean to win at the Michigan International Speedway?
I'm just happy we went back racing, man. I was real worried they were taking 4 that they were going to call it under yellow, but man, hats off to these guys. Everybody did a great job. It's from when we unloaded, I knew we had a real fast piece, and it was a lot of fun today.
Were you concerned in the cockpit about fuel?
I think Don was more concerned than I was. I felt like we were all right, but at the end there, I just needed 5-6 laps to get a rhythm going, and Grant did a great job racing me and taking my line away. But hats off to these guys, Donnie, Philip, everybody here put so much effort in, and Federated Auto Parts, Berlin 251. I'm racing there Tuesday, huge super late model event, and so just real happy to be here.
You've taken a step back to further your career, and that step has really propelled you forward.
Yeah, man, I'm real happy. I think this is about 1.5 years since my last win in anything, so I'm just real happy here. I'll have a good time with these guys. It's a great bunch of guys. They work their tails off on these cars to get them to the racetrack, so I'm happy to do my job for them.
Another special father-son combo, winners at Michigan International Speedway.